Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Before we start, let me ask you something uncomfortable. If your life is okay, why don't you feel okay? You have a roof, you have food, you have internet, you have people around you. Nothing is dramatically wrong. So why does it feel like something is missing? Why do you wake up tired, even after sleeping? Why do you scroll for hours but still feel bored? Why do you achieve things but feel nothing after? Here's the truth no one wants to admit. You are not sad. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are disconnected. Disconnected from meaning. Disconnected from depth. Disconnected from yourself. And the scariest part? You've gotten used to it. Modern life doesn't destroy you loudly. It slowly numbs you. It keeps you busy. It keeps you distracted. It keeps you entertained. But it rarely makes you fulfilled. You laugh. You post. You respond. You perform. But inside, there's silence, a strange emotional flatness, and maybe, just maybe, the reason you feel empty is not because your life is bad. It's because it lacks depth, and depth requires discomfort. So the real question isn't, why am I empty? The real question is, when did I stop feeling alive? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might not feel comfortable, but you will understand yourself better.
You tell people you're fine. It's automatic. How are you? Good. Busy. Can't complain. The conversation moves on. No one looks twice. No one asks again. Because fine is socially acceptable. It keeps things smooth, comfortable, normal. But what does fine actually mean? You wake up every morning. You check your phone before your feet touch the floor. You go to work. You complete tasks. You respond to messages. You scroll. You eat. You sleep. From the outside, nothing is wrong. Your life isn't collapsing. You're not in crisis. You're functioning. But functioning is not the same as living. Somewhere along the way, survival replaced depth. Productivity replaced presence. Distraction replaced connection. And now, there's a quiet feeling you can't explain. It's not dramatic enough to call depression. Not painful enough to alarm anyone. It's just flat. A low emotional hum in the background of your life. You laugh when you're supposed to laugh. You react when you're supposed to react. You perform the version of yourself that works. But when you're alone, when the noise stops, when the screen goes dark, there's something missing. Not success, not entertainment, not even relationships. Something deeper. When was the last time you felt fully alive? Not stimulated, not distracted, alive. When was the last time you felt genuine excitement without needing to document it? When was the last time silence felt peaceful instead of uncomfortable? Modern life rarely destroys you loudly. It doesn't need to. It slowly numbs you. It fills every empty second with noise. It rewards speed over reflection. It teaches you how to appear okay without ever asking if you actually are. And the most dangerous part? You adapt. You start believing this emotional flatness is just adulthood, just responsibility, just reality. But what if it isn't? What if fine is a mask you've worn for so long you forgot what your real face feels like? What if the emptiness isn't weakness, but a signal? A signal that you are disconnected from something essential, meaning, depth, presence, yourself. The uncomfortable truth is this. You can build a life that looks perfect from the outside and still feel nothing inside it. So before you move to the next chapter, ask yourself something honestly. Are you actually fine? Or have you just become very good at pretending? You wake up. Before your eyes fully adjust to the light, your hand reaches for your phone. It's not a decision, it's a reflex. Notifications, messages, updates, news, short videos. Within seconds, your brain lights up. Tiny spikes of dopamine, tiny hits of reward. It feels good. Or at least, it feels like something. Scroll, swipe, refresh. New content, new stimulation, new distraction. And for a moment, you don't feel empty anymore. But notice something carefully. You feel stimulated, not satisfied. There's a difference. Stimulation is quick, satisfaction is deep. Stimulation is loud, satisfaction is quiet. Modern life is built on stimulation. Your apps are designed to keep you engaged. Your feed is personalized to hold your attention. Your notifications are engineered to interrupt your thoughts. Not because someone hates you, but because attention is profitable. And your brain was never built for infinite novelty. Every scroll gives you a small reward. Every like gives you validation. Every new video gives you curiosity. But none of it lasts. So you keep going, not because you're weak, but because your biology is predictable. The problem isn't dopamine itself. The problem is constant dopamine. When everything is exciting, nothing feels meaningful. Silence starts to feel uncomfortable. Boredom feels unbearable. Stillness feels wrong. So you escape it. You fill every gap with noise. Podcasts while walking, music while driving, scrolling while eating, videos before sleeping. You are never alone with your own thoughts. And slowly, your baseline shifts. Real life begins to feel slow. Ordinary moments feel dull. Deep conversations feel exhausting. You think you're losing motivation, but maybe you're just overstimulated. You think you're lazy, but maybe your reward system is exhausted. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You are not empty because you have too little. You are empty because your mind never rests long enough to feel something real. Satisfaction requires patience. Depth requires focus. Meaning requires stillness. But stillness feels foreign now. So ask yourself something honest. When was the last time you sat in silence without reaching for your phone? When was the last time boredom didn't scare you? Because maybe the emptiness you feel isn't a lack of happiness. Maybe it's a lack of depth. And depth cannot compete with endless scrolling. You don't feel jealous. At least, you don't think you do. You're just scrolling. Someone got promoted. Someone bought a house. Someone is traveling the world. Someone looks happier, healthier, more successful. You double tap. You move on. But your brain doesn't. It stores the comparison quietly, without asking permission. Comparison is not new. Humans have always measured themselves against others, but never like this. Never against hundreds of people per day. Never against curated highlights. Never against filtered perfection. You're not comparing your real life to someone else's real life. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's best moments. And slowly, It shifts your perception. Your apartment feels smaller. Your job feels less impressive. Your body feels inadequate. Your relationship feels ordinary. Nothing changed except your reference point. The mind adapts fast. When you constantly see extraordinary moments, ordinary life begins to feel like failure. But ordinary life is where most of reality exists. No one posts their boredom. No one shares their insecurity in real time. No one uploads their quiet doubts at 2 a.m. So you begin to believe you're the only one struggling, the only one unsure, the only one behind. But here's the truth. Comparison doesn't motivate most people. It drains them. It makes you run a race you didn't choose, chasing milestones that might not even matter to you. You start wanting things because others have them, not because they fulfill you. And when you finally achieve something, there's always someone ahead. Always someone younger, richer, smarter, further. The finish line keeps moving. And that constant measuring creates quiet dissatisfaction. You don't celebrate long enough. You don't feel proud long enough. You don't feel content long enough. Because there's always another example of someone doing better. The uncomfortable truth is this: comparison hijacks your identity. It replaces your values with borrowed ones. It convinces you that success has one definition, that happiness has one image, and if you don't match it, you feel empty. But maybe the emptiness isn't because you lack achievement. Maybe it's because you've been chasing a life designed by someone else's highlight reel. So ask yourself something uncomfortable. If no one could see your life, what would you actually want? Because until you answer that honestly, comparison will keep deciding for you.
You wake up tired, not because you didn't sleep, but because your mind never stopped working. There's always something to do, another goal, another task, another milestone. Productivity has become more than a habit. It has become identity. When someone asks who you are, you answer with what you do. Your job, your schedule, your achievements. Being busy feels important. Being tired feels impressive. Rest starts to feel guilty. Somewhere along the way, you learn that your worth is tied to your output. If you're not improving, you're falling behind. If you're not building, you're wasting time. If you're not optimizing your morning routine, your workout, your career path, you're failing. But failing who? In a world obsessed with growth, stillness looks like weakness. Slowing down feels dangerous, because if you stop moving, you might have to feel something. You might have to confront the emptiness you've been outrunning. So you stay busy. You fill your calendar. You answer emails late at night. You plan 5-year goals. You listen to productivity podcasts while commuting to a job you barely question. And when you finally achieve something, the satisfaction is short-lived. Because the system doesn't reward contentment. It rewards the next target. Another promotion, another project, another version of yourself that's better. But better never feels complete. There is always more to optimize. Your sleep, your body, your mindset, your income, your network. Improvement becomes endless. And improvement without reflection turns into exhaustion. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Productivity is a powerful distraction. It gives you direction. It gives you validation. It gives you momentum. But it doesn't automatically give you meaning. You can be incredibly productive and deeply empty at the same time.
Because meaning isn't measured in output. It's measured in alignment. Alignment between what you do and what actually matters to you. But when was the last time you paused long enough to ask that? When was the last time you questioned why you're chasing what you're chasing? If you stopped achieving for a moment, who would you be? Without deadlines, without performance, without applause. Would you feel free or lost? Because sometimes the reason you feel empty isn't because you aren't doing enough. It's because you've been doing everything except asking whether it's truly yours.
You are constantly connected. Messages, group chats, followers, comments, video calls. Your phone proves it. You are not alone. And yet, you feel alone. Modern loneliness doesn't look like isolation. It looks like crowded rooms where no one truly sees you. It looks like conversations that never go beyond the surface. It looks like laughing with friends and still feeling misunderstood. We've never had more ways to connect, but connection is not the same as closeness. You can talk to someone every day and never feel known. You can share your thoughts online and never feel understood. You can sit in a room full of people and feel invisible. Because real connection requires vulnerability, and vulnerability feels risky. So instead, we perform. We show the acceptable parts, the strong parts, the interesting parts. We hide the confusion, the insecurity, the fear of not being enough. And when everyone performs, no one truly connects. You scroll through posts of smiling faces, vacation photos, birthday celebrations, and you assume everyone else has deeper relationships, stronger bonds. But most people are doing the same thing you are, protecting themselves, keeping conversations safe, keeping emotions filtered, keeping distance, even when physically close. The uncomfortable truth is this: you can be surrounded by people and still feel emotionally starved, because what you crave isn't attention, it's understanding. You don't just want someone to hear you, you want someone to see you, to recognize your fears without you explaining them, to sit in silence without it feeling awkward, to feel safe enough to drop the mask. But safety requires trust, and trust requires time, and time requires presence. Yet presence is rare. Everyone is half distracted, half scrolling, half listening. So conversations stay shallow, and loneliness grows quietly. Not because you are unlovable, not because you are broken, but because depth has become uncomfortable. Slowing down enough to truly know someone feels inefficient. Opening up feels exposing. So we choose convenience over closeness, and then wonder why we feel empty. Maybe the emptiness isn't about success, or productivity, or achievement. Maybe it's about connection. Not digital connection, not surface-level interaction, but the kind that makes you feel less alone inside your own mind. So ask yourself something honest. When was the last time you felt truly understood? And when was the last time you allowed someone to understand you? Who are you? Not your job, not your degree, not your relationship status. You. If someone removed your responsibilities, your achievements, your social roles, what would remain? Most people never ask this question seriously. Because identity feels obvious. You have a name, a personality, preferences, opinions. But look closer. How many of your beliefs are truly yours? How many were shaped by your parents, your culture, your school, your friends, your algorithms? From childhood, you were taught who to be. Be polite, be strong, be successful, be attractive, be productive. Every reward you received shaped you. Every rejection reshaped you. Over time, you built a version of yourself that survives, a version that fits in, a version that works. But fitting in is not the same as being authentic. You learned when to speak, when to stay quiet, when to hide emotion, when to exaggerate confidence. Slowly, without realizing it, you adapted, and adaptation feels like identity. Until one day, you feel empty. Not because your life is wrong, but because you don't know if the person living it is truly you. You say you like certain things, but do you? Or were you just accepted when you liked them? You chase certain goals, but are they yours? Or were they handed to you as the definition of success? The uncomfortable truth is this: many people are strangers to themselves. They know how to perform. They know how to function. They know how to survive, but they don't know who they are without an audience. That's why silence feels uncomfortable, because without distraction, without roles, without noise, you are left alone with a question you've avoided. If no one expected anything from me, who would I be? Identity crisis is not dramatic. It's subtle. It shows up as confusion, as restlessness, as dissatisfaction that has no clear cause. You change hobbies, change jobs, change environments, but the emptiness follows, because the environment wasn't the issue, the disconnection was. Maybe you don't feel empty because life lacks opportunity. Maybe you feel empty because you've never truly met yourself. And meeting yourself requires removing the mask of competence, the mask of confidence, the mask of "I'm fine." So ask yourself something difficult. If you stopped trying to impress, achieve, or belong, who would you discover underneath? And would you even recognize them? At first you felt restless, then dissatisfied, then confused. Now, you don't feel much at all. Not intense sadness, not deep joy, just a steady emotional flatline. You still react. You smile when something is funny. You say, "That's crazy," when someone tells a story. You respond when spoken to. But inside, it's quiet. Too quiet. Emotional numbness doesn't feel dramatic. It feels normal. You wake up. You move through the day. You complete tasks. But nothing hits deeply anymore. Achievements feel muted. Compliments feel distant. Even bad news feels dull. It's not that you don't care. It's that caring feels exhausting. Somewhere along the way, your mind decided it was safer to lower the volume. Because feeling deeply means risk. Risk of disappointment. Risk of rejection. Risk of failure. So instead of riding emotional highs and lows, you hover in the middle. Safe, stable, uninspired. The problem is, numbness protects you from pain,
but it also protects you from joy. When you stop feeling deeply, you stop living deeply. You become efficient at functioning, but distant from yourself. Think about it. When was the last time something truly moved you? Not entertained you, moved you. When was the last time you felt proud in your chest, or heartbroken in a way that made you reflect, or excited enough to lose track of time? If you can't remember, it's not because you're broken. It's because constant stimulation, comparison, pressure, and adaptation have trained your nervous system to stay neutral. Neutral feels safe. Neutral feels controlled. But neutral also feels empty. The uncomfortable truth is this: numbness is not peace. It's protection. Your mind learned that feeling less means hurting less, so it dimmed the lights. And now you're living in emotional twilight. Not dark, not bright, just muted. But here's something important. If you feel numb, it means you once felt deeply. The capacity is still there. It's just buried, under distraction, under fear, under survival mode. So the real question isn't, why don't I feel anything? The real question is, what did I have to shut down in order to survive? Because whatever you shut down to protect yourself might be the very thing that makes you feel alive again.
You wake up, you work, you eat, you scroll, you sleep, repeat. Nothing is terribly wrong, but nothing feels deeply right either. There was a time when things felt important, dreams felt urgent, goals felt exciting, the future felt big. Now, it feels mechanical. You still move forward, but you don't know why. This is the loss of meaning, and it's quieter than depression, because you're still functioning. You show up to work, you reply to messages, you laugh when expected, but inside, a question keeps echoing. What's the point? You chase success, but when you achieve something, the satisfaction fades quickly. You plan for the future, but imagining it doesn't spark excitement anymore. It just feels like more responsibility. At some point, life shifted from being an adventure to being maintenance. Pay bills, maintain relationships, maintain reputation, maintain stability. Everything becomes about preserving structure. Nothing feels about exploration anymore. And when exploration dies, meaning weakens. Meaning doesn't come from survival. It comes from growth, from challenge, from curiosity, from creating something that feels larger than you. But modern life often reduces you to a performer of tasks. You become productive, efficient, busy, but not necessarily alive. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If you remove distraction, if you sit alone without your phone, without noise, without goals temporarily distracting you, can you honestly say you feel connected to a bigger purpose? Or are you just moving because stopping feels terrifying? The loss of meaning doesn't scream. It whispers. It shows up as, maybe this is all there is. And that sentence is heavy. Because if this is all there is, then why try harder? Why care more? Why push further? But here's something most people miss. Meaning is not found. It is constructed. You don't stumble upon purpose.
you build it. Through struggle, through responsibility you consciously choose, through creating value for something beyond your own comfort. The danger is not that life has no meaning. The danger is becoming passive in creating it. If you stop choosing direction, life chooses default settings for you: routine, comfort, predictability, and slowly, your inner fire fades. So maybe the real question isn't, what's the meaning of life? Maybe it's, what responsibility am I avoiding that would give my life meaning? Because meaning doesn't appear when life is easy. It appears when you decide something is worth suffering for.
You face the truth, the pressure, the identity crisis, the numbness, the loss of meaning. Now comes the hardest part: rebuilding. Most people think rebuilding means changing their job, changing their city, changing their routine. But rebuilding is not external. It's internal demolition first. You cannot build something authentic on a fake foundation. The uncomfortable truth is this: before you rebuild, you must admit what version of you was never real. The version built to impress, the version built to survive, the version built to fit expectations. Rebuilding starts when you say, "This isn't me anymore." It's quiet. It's uncomfortable. Because when you remove the mask, you don't immediately find clarity. You find uncertainty. But uncertainty is honest, and honesty is power. Rebuilding yourself means choosing consciously, choosing what to believe, choosing what to value, choosing what kind of person you want to become. Not based on fear, not based on comparison, not based on validation, but based on alignment. Ask yourself, what habits are slowly destroying me? What thoughts are not even mine? What goals am I chasing that don't feel alive? And then, remove them, one by one. Rebuilding is slow. It's waking up earlier when you don't feel like it. It's sitting with emotions instead of numbing them. It's speaking honestly even when your voice shakes. It's choosing growth over comfort, again and again. Because comfort built the version you're trying to escape. Growth builds the version you actually respect. And here's something powerful. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply waking up. Most people never reach this stage. They stay distracted. They stay numb. They stay comfortable. The fact that you're here, thinking deeply, questioning reality, means you are different. And that difference is your strength. This is why channels like Cerebral Depths matter. Because this space isn't about entertainment. It's about awareness. It's about exploring the parts of your mind that most people avoid. It's about asking questions that make you uncomfortable, but stronger. If even one sentence in this series made you pause, if even one chapter felt personal, then you already know this isn't just another video. This is a mirror. And if you're ready to go deeper, to challenge your thinking, to rebuild consciously, to understand the darkest corners of your own mind, then this is your place. Subscribe not for motivation. Subscribe for awareness.